In recent months, the technology community has increasingly been discussing the possibility that Tesla may be preparing for the most ambitious project in its history. The reason for these discussions has been a series of cautious yet highly intriguing hints made by Elon Musk during several interviews and private meetings with investors. Officially, he referred to a new type of transportation that could radically change the conventional concept of mobility. However, sources close to the company claim that behind those words lies something far more specific, a concept for a flying car capable of not only driving on roads, but also hovering in the air. According to several analysts, including experts from Morgan Stanley and ARK Invest, Tesla has been researching electric vertical takeoff and landing technologies, known as eVTOL systems, for several years. These systems are already being used in modern prototypes of aerial transportation. In the past, the company itself avoided public comments on the subject, and Musk repeatedly criticized the idea of flying cars, calling them noisy, dangerous, and impractical for cities. But the tone of his statements has changed noticeably. In one recent conversation, he explicitly noted that technology has reached the point where some concepts that once seemed impossible are beginning to look entirely realistic. That single statement became the trigger for a wave of speculation. Insiders claim that Tesla has already assembled a small research team working on the concept of a hybrid vehicle, an automobile capable of driving on roads like a conventional car, but able to switch into vertical flight mode whenever necessary. This does not mean the company will unveil a finished product tomorrow, but it does suggest that Tesla may indeed have begun moving toward an entirely new category of transportation, the very one that existed only in the imagination of futurists for decades. If these reports prove accurate, we are effectively witnessing the beginning of a new technological race. A flying car is not simply another product. It represents a potentially new market comparable in scale to the electric vehicle market at the beginning of the 2010s. Back then, Tesla also started with an idea that many dismissed as unrealistic. Today, many analysts draw a direct parallel. Just as electric vehicles transformed the automotive industry, flying transportation could fundamentally reshape the concept of mobility itself. But what exactly might such a vehicle look like? According to preliminary assessments, it would not resemble a traditional car with wings. Instead, it would most likely feature an entirely new design, a compact electric aircraft equipped with several powerful ducted fans or turbines integrated into its body. Rather than conventional wheels, it would use propulsion modules capable of enabling vertical takeoff. In road mode, those systems could retract or fold away, allowing the vehicle to operate on ordinary streets. The key element would be software. Without advanced artificial intelligence, such a vehicle would simply not be possible. Navigating three-dimensional space requires the continuous analysis of enormous amounts of data, from weather conditions to the movement of other vehicles and obstacles. And this is where Tesla has one of the strongest competitive advantages in the market: its experience in developing autonomous driving systems and neural networks. In essence, Tesla's flying car would not simply be a vehicle, but a fully autonomous system capable of making decisions in real time. According to sources familiar with the project, the company is considering a scenario in which users would never manually control the vehicle at all. You would simply enter your destination, and the system itself would decide whether to travel by road or take to the air. Such a capability could fundamentally transform urban transportation. Imagine megacities without traffic jams, where transportation moves not only through streets, but also along aerial corridors. However, the biggest question remains: when will this become reality? Even the most optimistic forecasts suggest a timeline of no sooner than 7 to 10 years, assuming technology continues to advance at its current pace. A more realistic scenario suggests that the first limited versions will appear in the premium segment around the mid-2030s. The mass market may follow even later. The primary challenge is not the technology itself, but regulation. Flying transportation requires an entirely new infrastructure. Air corridors, traffic control systems, and operational rules will all have to be created. Governments around the world will need to agree on safety standards, certification procedures, and liability frameworks in the event of accidents. In this respect, Tesla will face obstacles far more complex than those it encountered with electric vehicles. The risks also remain extremely high. Any technical failure in the air has far more serious consequences than one on the road. Even rare malfunctions could lead to strict regulations or temporary bans. In addition, questions remain regarding noise, energy consumption, and resilience to adverse weather conditions. Strong winds, heavy rain, or snow could significantly limit the practicality of such transportation. Nevertheless, the potential benefits are enormous. Shorter travel times, reduced road congestion, and entirely new possibilities for logistics and emergency services could transform the cities of the future. Some experts already believe that the first customers will not be private individuals, but corporate clients, including delivery services, healthcare organizations, and next-generation taxi operators. This is precisely where Tesla could apply its current strategy. Rather than immediately selling these vehicles to private customers, the company could create a network of autonomous aerial taxis, the three-dimensional equivalent of SkyCub. This would allow Tesla to control the ecosystem, collect operational data, and gradually scale the technology. Interestingly, Tesla is not alone in pursuing this vision. Companies such as Joby Aviation, Archer, and even major aerospace manufacturers are already testing eVTOL aircraft. However, Tesla has a unique advantage through the integration of all the key technologies within a single ecosystem. Batteries, electric motors, software, and artificial intelligence already exist inside the company and could all be adapted to this new transportation format. In many ways, if Tesla is truly moving in this direction, it could represent the next logical step after electric vehicles and autonomous driving. What once seemed like pure science fiction is now beginning to look more like a matter of time. The most important signal is not that such vehicles will arrive tomorrow. The real signal is that the world's largest technology companies are beginning to take them seriously. That suggests we may be standing at the very beginning of a new transportation revolution. If Tesla's history has taught us anything, it is that the craziest ideas sometimes turn out to be the most realistic ones. The only question is how long it will take before they become part of our everyday lives. But perhaps the most fascinating aspect of this entire story is that the development of flying transportation could trigger a chain reaction affecting not only the automotive industry, but the entire global economy. According to estimates from analysts at McKinsey and Bloomberg Intelligence, the eVTOL transportation market could exceed hundreds of billions of dollars by 2040 if commercialization proves successful. If Tesla is indeed entering this race at an early stage, it would give the company a strategic advantage comparable to the one it gained at the beginning of the electric vehicle era. Insiders claim that several development scenarios are currently being discussed within the company. The first involves creating a premium flying car aimed at affluent customers. Such a product could be priced between $150,000 and $300,000 and would serve as a technological showcase, much like the original Roadster. The second scenario is even more ambitious, launching a fully autonomous aerial taxi network in which customers pay not for the vehicle itself, but for individual trips. According to analysts, this model could become Tesla's primary source of revenue over the long term. When examining the potential economics of such a service, the numbers appear extremely impressive. A single flying vehicle operating for 16 to 18 hours a day could complete dozens of trips daily, with an average fare ranging from $50 to $150. Annual revenue generated by a single aircraft could reach hundreds of thousands of dollars. At the same time, operating costs could be significantly lower than those of conventional aviation thanks to electric propulsion and autonomous operation. This is why some investors are already calling the sector the next Uber, but in the sky. However, this opportunity also brings entirely new challenges. One of the most significant is air traffic management. Imagine thousands of such aircraft operating simultaneously within a single megacity. That would require an entirely new traffic management system. This is no longer a network of roads but a three-dimensional environment where every vehicle must be synchronized with every other one in real time. Here, Tesla could leverage its expertise in neural networks by creating a unified digital platform capable of coordinating the movement of an entire aerial fleet. Safety is another major area of focus. According to sources familiar with the project, the company is considering a multi-layer redundancy system in which the failure of one or even several propulsion units would not result in a catastrophic accident. In addition, scenarios involving emergency landings, automatic selection of safe landing zones, and even integration with municipal emergency services are reportedly being evaluated. All of these measures are intended to minimize risk and convince regulators that this new form of transportation can operate safely. Interestingly, the technology community is also actively discussing the possible involvement of other major players. Apple is rumored to be exploring concepts for next-generation transportation integrated into its own ecosystem. BYD is investing heavily in electric platforms and could rapidly adapt its technologies to new transportation formats. Even aerospace giants such as Boeing and Airbus are already testing their own eVTOL solutions. This means that if Tesla truly moves into the flying car market, we could witness the beginning of a new global race similar to the one currently unfolding in artificial intelligence. Companies will compete not only over technology, but also over standards, infrastructure, and access to global markets. Another important aspect is the potential impact on cities themselves. Architects and urban planners have already begun discussing how megacities might evolve with the introduction of this type of transportation. We may see dedicated landing pads on rooftops, new transportation hubs integrated into skyscrapers, and even separate aerial traffic levels designed specifically for airborne vehicles. Such developments could fundamentally reshape urban infrastructure over the coming decades. But alongside these opportunities comes an equally important social question. Who will be able to afford this kind of transportation? Will it become a mass-market product, or will it remain a privilege reserved for the wealthy? History suggests that new technologies typically begin in the premium segment before gradually becoming more affordable. Tesla's electric vehicles are a perfect example of this process. If the company can repeat that trajectory, flying cars could eventually become part of everyday life. At the same time, the factor of public perception cannot be ignored. People will have to become comfortable with the idea of dozens or even hundreds of aircraft constantly moving overhead. That requires trust in the technology, in the companies behind it, and in the regulatory system. A single major incident could significantly slow the industry's development. Nevertheless, when all the factors are considered together, technological capabilities, investor interest, competitive activity, and the hints coming from Tesla's leadership, it becomes clear that flying transportation is no longer just a fantasy. It is gradually becoming a genuine direction for the industry's future. And it is possible that we are witnessing the very moment that will later be remembered as the starting point. The moment when an idea once considered impossible began to evolve into a strategic objective for the world's largest technology companies. If these signals prove to be accurate, then the coming years will bring not merely an evolution of transportation, but a complete reimagining of it. A world in which the boundaries between roads and the sky gradually disappear may be much closer than it seems. To truly understand how radically the world could change with the arrival of this kind of transportation, all you have to do is imagine an ordinary day in the near future. Morning. You step outside your home, but instead of a familiar parking space, there is a small landing pad waiting for you. Your vehicle is already prepared. It is not simply parked, it is in standby mode. The system has already calculated the route, assessed the weather conditions, analyzed traffic density, and selected the optimal travel scenario. You step inside, the doors close automatically, and instead of the familiar sound of an engine, you hear only a faint electric hum. The vehicle gently rises several meters into the air, stabilizes itself, and begins moving forward. Below you remain the traffic jams, traffic lights, and intersections, all the things that only recently were part of everyday life. Ahead lies open space, where movement follows an entirely different set of rules. And this is where the key advantage of such technology becomes apparent: time. According to experts, average travel times in major metropolitan areas could be reduced by 2 to 3 times. Routes become direct, eliminating the need to drive around city blocks. sit in traffic congestion, or wait at red lights. This is not merely faster transportation, it is a fundamental change in the rhythm of everyday life. Behind this vision, however, lies an extraordinarily complex technological system. According to sources familiar with the project, Tesla could employ a distributed artificial intelligence network in which every vehicle does far more than simply follow a route. It continuously exchanges data with every other vehicle. This would create what could be described as a digital sky, where every participant is synchronized in real time. Any change, whether wind conditions, unexpected obstacles, or route adjustments, is immediately incorporated into the system. Energy technology is another major focus. One of the biggest questions is whether batteries will be capable of providing sufficient flight range. Here, Tesla would likely rely on its latest battery developments. The company could be working with energy densities significantly beyond those found in today's production electric vehicles. Some analysts estimate that such vehicles could achieve a combined operating range of approximately 200 to 400 kilometers, taking both flight and road travel into account. Interestingly, some leaks also mention the possibility of rapid battery replacement, or ultra-fast charging. This would be critically important for commercial operations, particularly if autonomous fleets become reality. The less time a vehicle spends charging, the greater its efficiency and profitability. The appearance of these vehicles could also differ dramatically from anything we see today. Minimalist bodies, smooth aerodynamic lines, the absence of traditional wheels, or wheels hidden within the design, and illuminated elements replacing conventional headlights are all possibilities. Some concept designs circulating online depict vehicles with completely enclosed bodies and integrated fans generating vertical lift. These would no longer be simply automobiles, but hybrids combining the characteristics of cars and drones. Despite all of this futuristic vision, the transition to such transportation will not happen overnight. Most likely, flying vehicles will coexist with conventional automobiles during the early years. Roads will not disappear, but their role will gradually evolve. They may become an alternative rather than the primary mode of transportation, while an increasing share of traffic moves into the sky. Ultimately, trust will become the decisive factor. People will need confidence that the system operates safely and reliably. Here, Tesla could follow the same path it took with autonomous driving: gradual deployment, continuous data collection, and constant algorithm improvement. First comes partial autonomy, followed eventually by full autonomy. Yet there is another aspect that is rarely discussed: geopolitics. The countries that are first to deploy this technology could gain a significant strategic advantage. This is not merely about transportation, it is about building the infrastructure of the future. The ability to move rapidly while bypassing ground-based limitations could transform logistics, reshape economies, and even influence military strategy. That is precisely why some experts believe governments are already monitoring the development of this technology very closely. Regulators have the power either to accelerate its adoption or to slow it down considerably. In some countries, there will be testing zones and pilot programs, while in others, there will be strict regulations and lengthy certification processes. Nevertheless, when looking at the overall trend, it becomes clear that the world is moving toward greater autonomy, digitalization, and more efficient use of space. Flying transportation fits perfectly into this direction. It addresses several major challenges at once: traffic congestion, travel time, and overall efficiency. If Tesla truly stands at the forefront of this movement, it could become the company's most significant milestone since the transition to electric vehicles. This time, however, the objective is not simply to replace the internal combustion engine. It is about moving to an entirely new level of mobility. The only remaining question is exactly when this will become part of our everyday reality. But if current signals are any indication, that moment may be much closer than it appears. It is entirely possible that within the next decade, we will look back on today's roads the same way we now look back on button-operated mobile phones, as something outdated, yet once completely ordinary. At that point, it will become unmistakably clear that transportation is no longer confined to the surface of the Earth. It is expanding beyond it, and there will be no turning back.